tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled today is artist Paul Sorvino. Artist, actor, director, a whole list of hyphenates. Paul Sorvino was born and raised in Brooklyn, and at the age of 4, he declared he wanted to be an actor. Since then, he's been an actor, a versatile one. He's been on Broadway, where he earned a Tony nomination for that championship season. He's been on TV in Law & Order and a number of movies of the week, comedy specials, drama specials. Paul is a director. He's appeared in more than 80 films, including Goodfellas, The Firm. And so far, we know all that about you. But the one thing I didn't know about you was that you were a great tenor and you were an opera singer. You've sung with the Seattle Symphony, the Seattle Opera. You've been on the stage at the Metropolitan. And I don't know, in your spare time, it seems that you're an artist.
Well, I was doing a movie last year in Rome called Witches to the North, and I did 5 bronze pieces while I was starring in the movie.
Oh, in your spare time?
Actually, before I went to work, after I got back from work, and on weekends.
But what does that do for you? Is it a relaxation?
No, art is not relaxing. It's invigorating, and it's liberating, but it's not, it's labor.
Did you go to school?
I took a few lessons from Jose de Crieff, the great sculptor of the Alice in Wonderland figures in Central Park. Oh. And I imported a sculptor last year from Italy and sort of watched the way he worked, but he really didn't want to show me too much, so I kind of watched.
Did he work in bronze
in clay.
or clay?
In
clay. He worked in clay. Do you work in marble?
No, I haven't worked in marble at my age. I need to do another 100 or 200 pieces. At my age, if I start with marble, I'll finish with about 4, and that's it.
You'll finish with it?
No.
You mean they'll go down to nothing?
No, I won't have time. I'm running out of pavement.
When you act, you draw on your inner self to do certain things. When you sculpt, do you do the same type of thing?
It's a different process because everything you do is you, especially if you know what you're doing. So you, as a sculptor and as a painter, or as a writer, as a poet, anything you do like that, it comes out of you, but you don't summon it specifically. As an actor, you're in the business of summoning certain kinds of conditions, whether you're going to become furious or you're going to weep or you're going to... So your technique is to call up those things.
Right.
And use them to express what has to be expressed in the part. As a sculptor or a painter, you're working on it and you come out, but you're not even aware of it.
You mean those things come out if you're doing, I don't know what kind of, let's talk about the subject matter, then let's talk about how things come out. Okay. What do you choose as subject matter? Are you abstract?
Well, it's all people. No, I'm not. No. It's all people.
It's all people.
I'm really not interested in still lifes or abstract art. Doesn't interest me.
So
to me, it's only half of art because all it is form.
And what you're doing, though, with a person is you're dealing with their personality and their thoughts.
Exactly.
So
well, you do that as an actor, too. You respond to what the other person is doing. So in that sense, there's a similarity. But when you deal with a model or a commissioned portrait, let's say, or something like that, it's your job to get that essence of that person and get it on the canvas or get it in the bronze.
So let's go through that process.
Yeah. Okay.
You choose me.
Right.
I come to your studio.
Right.
Do you take any photographs?
Yeah, I might. Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happens after I get there.
Well,
where is the studio?
It's on La Cienega, above Wilshire. Yeah,
it's in Los Angeles.
Yeah. I also have one in Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountains.
That's what I was
wondering. And my farm.
Oh, that's great. So you can work in both places.
Yes.
And that, as far as being in a certain setting, does that influence what you're doing?
Honestly, I don't think so.
So if you're in the Poconos, you don't,
I don't
think
think
that
so. I
the
think if I'm
mountains,
in Nome, Alaska, I think it's the same thing.
it's going to come out the same way?
I think so.
Okay, so I come to your studio in Los Angeles.
Right. And then if it's just a portrait, then you're just going to sit there and we're going to decide, you know, you're going to move and I'm going to move. And I have my stand on wheels, and I may ask you to turn around or whatever. But the first
what
thing
are
I'll
you
probably
using?
do is make a sketch of you.
Oh, that's what I
I
wondered.
may make 2 or 3 sketches of you, depending upon whether I feel I'm capturing what's important about you. Because there are many artists who can capture a likeness. That's pretty much ability and training, but that's not enough. So what I'm after is capturing that human being, that specialness about that human being.
Am I talking to you?
Oh, not when I'm doing that
Yes.
feature.
Not when I'm doing that, okay.
Not when you're doing the feature,
Uh-huh.
a particular feature. Let's say if I'm doing your eyes, you can talk.
Yeah,
But if I'm
that's
doing your
what I
mouth, you
mean.
can't.
No, that's what I mean.
And you don't move around. You have to sit there.
Okay, that's what I mean. So you
Right.
do the drawing, and then where does that go next?
Well, I say I would do 3 or 4 drawings usually.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I feel that I've sort of captured what you are, then I will take 3 large blocks of natural clay from Italy.
Ah,
And I will pound that into a basic shape, you know, like
of what you want? Oh, really?
you know, so 2 or 3, let's say 3 of those. I'll pound that in with a large custom-made mallet, a handmade mallet, just wood. And I'll pound that essentially into that, and then I will start modeling basic shapes. And in a certain sense, I'm a little bit kind of working a little bit like a stone sculpture, where very often in the old days, the way they made sculpture, or a lot of people still do it today, they add on from
Pieces?
well, they make an armature. I don't use armatures.
Right. Oh, you don't do that?
No.
So you just have one slab, you pound it to get into
Well,
the shape that you
And
want?
then when it's in a basic shape, I will take steel rods or aluminum rods or brass rods, stick them through the top, and that will hold them for now. In other words, I don't use the armature system, because if I do, then I will end up. You can see a rod there.
Does
I think.
this help us?
Yeah, I think. See that sticking out of there? That rod.
Uh-huh.
That's a rod used so that this section
Oh, I see the rod on
will
this
not
one.
fall.
I see. So
Because
it holds
clay, natural clay, or any kind of clay, will not hold unless it's. Now, what they usually used to do was build a full armature, and what most sculptors still
Right.
do. They put it on a piece of wood, they put pipes, they put wires, they it's a big deal. Around this, they start adding clay. So they build it up.
I see. And
Whereas-
you don't do that?
Not really.
Okay,
I
but-
kind of work like a stone, and because I use the rod system, I can change anything anytime I want. I can take them out, move the head, turn the head, put it up, take off the arm, put it lower. Once you are using an armature, you're set. That's the only thing you're going to do.
Was this your own experiment, or do a lot of artists work
No,
like
this artist in Italy used this system.
I see.
And I learned this system by watching him. I sponsored him for a year.
Is this
Yeah.
partiality to Italians because you're Italian?
Not at all. Anybody who's got talent. I mean, Rodin, well, he's not Italian, but anybody who's got talent has got talent. But it's a wonderful system. It doesn't work that well on very large pieces, and then you must have an armature, and then we usually do an armature foam, and not the old way of a big, heavy
Oh, you do?
pipe thing. You use foam, and it's much lighter, and it's hollow.
So you didn't have to experiment too much. You knew where you were
No,
going
as soon as I
on
saw it
this.
done once, I knew exactly how
You
to
knew
do it.
where you were
It
going.
was just a principle, and it made great sense to me. So now I will, let's say, put 2 rods in the top of your head.
Yeah, hold
and
me
then,
there.
Yeah, just so you won't sag or, you know.
Yeah.
And then I will start to model with my hands. And I will model your shoulders, and I'll model your neck and your face, a basic face, and then, yeah,
This
well,
shows
that's
with your
towards the end
hands,
of that.
right? But it shows that you're using your fingers.
That's
on
right. Yeah, and there's a little tool I'm using for very fine work. That's a small sculpture, like these over here. So you have to use tools on small sculptures a lot. The larger thing you do, the easier it is. You get in trouble with scale. You have to figure that out. You know how things are supposed to balance. But essentially, now I will start modeling completely with my hands. When I have a reasonable shape of your face, neck, arms, shoulders, whatever, and hair. And I do it all at once. I don't wait and put hair. I mean, I just do the whole thing at once.
How long is this so far? Have we taken?
Well, I hesitate to tell you that because I'm really fast.
A day, 2 days?
Well, yeah. I mean,
an
you
hour,
know,
2
yeah,
hours?
yeah.
Okay.
I do it really fast.
You get into it and you do it.
Yeah, I do it.
Okay.
And And I do some things that take other sculptors 7 or 8 months, and I'll do them in a very short time.
Well, do you think it's because of your eye or the dexterity, or what do you think
I
it
wish
is?
I could answer that because I really can't. I know that, for instance, I was talking to my foundry in Bologna, and I was asking the head of the foundry, I said, how long do sculptors take to do these things? And he said he had a sculptor with a head of collis who took 6 months to do it. And I said, it must be great. He said, it's awful.
But it depends on the...
I just think that some people need to work slowly. I need to work quickly. And so once I've done that, then I will take my specially handmade tools and then carve out all these things.
Oh,
then I will keep looking, and I'll keep turning, and I'll go around this side, and I'll go around that side, and move my stand. And then I will... I don't like to sculpt more than 2 or 3 hours a day, because I hardly can take a break. Every time I take a break, I start to take a break and I'm back at it again. So I really don't, it's pretty steady.
So the person who's sitting for you doesn't have to really sit very long.
Not
2 or 3
long.
hours is not very long.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours, that's all.
Then
now,
do they come back? Then when I come back?
Oh yes. Now for instance, what I'm doing a sculpture right now of a woman like this, a standing woman, kind of almost like the Rodin's Walking Man in a sense, with her hands above here. She's a kind of an earth mama, big, healthy, hefty lady. And that is going to take me a couple of weeks, because I've got there, it's very fine. And when you're doing small, fine things like that took about 30 hours
this
of just
one
modeling.
Right here.
Yeah, that took a few weeks, because when you're working on something that's small, you're always dealing with little problems that you don't have when you can put your whole hand in there.
And what about proportion? Do you just do the
you need
proportion
an
from
eye.
your eye?
Well, you check it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, you check it. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah. A lot of
You
artists
don't use computer?
Oh, no. A lot of artists I know get snapshots and project them on canvas and so forth. When I paint, I can't do that. I mean, I just don't.
So this is really old school.
What I'm thinking, I'm strictly a classicist. I don't belong in this century. I would imagine that I would feel all right if I were to project a drawing of mine. The reason being, I don't want to lose the drawing. So because I made a few paintings, and I made some really what I thought were terrific drawings, and then you have to paint over them, and they're gone forever.
Oh,
so what I think I'm going to do in the future is make my drawings, and then make them detailed and well, and then copy them. Make them smaller, put them, and then project them on the canvas. But that's mine. That's all mine. That's not a photograph. No. I would never do that. I mean,
but what about taking those drawings and making prints of them? So like a
that's
clay.
okay. That wouldn't bother me.
Would you do that?
Yeah, that wouldn't bother me. Prints, fine. But I mean, we're talking about the process of manufacture.
Right.
And so, anyway, to go on with what happens to do the sculpture. Okay. Now we've got something, and let's say I've worked a week on it. Let's say that. But that doesn't talk about, now as I said, a portrait is one thing. A sculpture of a work of art, which is just in your head, can take weeks of preparation of drawings and thinking. A portrait, if I don't like the person, I will not take the commission.
Well, I was going to ask you how you pick your subject matter.
Well, if it's a commission, if someone asks me, I turned down a commission for about $70,000 last year, because these people wanted their little ballerina daughters, and they were nice kids.
They wanted a Degas.
But I hated the people. I mean, they were terrible people. They really were. They were just nasty and audacious. And I said, I tell you what, I'm going to give you the name of a very good sculptor. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I would be serving you well.
So you really...
If I don't like the person, I'm at an age, Joan, I'm at a place in my life where if I'm not going to enjoy it, I don't need to do it.
But Paul, this is the point we're talking about. You have to have something going with that person.
If I don't have a rapport with a person, I won't do a commission.
And it won't be good.
It won't be good anyway. If I don't like the person, you're going to see it.
That's what I mean.
You're literally going to see it in my work.
You're not going to be able to draw.
No, because there's an unconscious, this drawing out of the person, it's an interesting question, but it really comes unconsciously. You get so involved in doing, you don't even know what you're doing. And I really can't stop. I get going, and my model just said yesterday, you were supposed to be on a break? And she's constantly saying, because I take the break, I'm at 15 seconds of the break, and I'm back. I can't help it.
Do you go to art schools to get models too?
No. Just people want to do it, and and
because
I pay
sometimes,
them. But I found that paying is much better.
Because then they know they have to be there, and they have
to be there.
A job.
It's not a favor, and I don't feel guilty.
Right.
Because I'm a sensitive person and I don't like to ask people to do favors that are difficult for them or that might put them under pressure. This way I'm paying a model. I'd much
Right.
rather pay a model.
Right.
And it is also not good to get that close to a model, because you may fall in love with the model
Yes.
and not fall in love with the sculpture.
Yes. So how
Here's
far
an
have we
example,
gotten?
for instance.
How far have we gotten on my portrait now? Have we
Okay,
finished
now
it?
let's say we've given it a week.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I can model you in an hour and a half, but
Okay.
but to really make it a fine piece of work, let's say the modeling portion, depending upon if you can come every day, let's say a week or 2 weeks.
Okay.
Now what has to happen is it has to go to the foundry. It goes to the foundry.
In
the foundry
in the clay form.
in the clay form. And by the way, if I didn't like something, I might take out the things and turn your head a little. I do that often, just because with this armature, you're dead. You can't do that.
Right. Okay.
So that's what I love about this system. Then go to the foundry. Foundry makes a rubber mold, and from that makes a regular mold, and you end up with a wax replica,
Right.
a hollow wax replica of whatever size or whatever you're doing.
Right.
This you must work on because you always lose something. So generally you lose the edges. You lose the edges here. You lose the edge. So now
so
you
then
have
you
to.
work on the
Now you're
wax?
resculpting on the wax.
I see.
That can take any amount of time. I worked on one wax for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because I didn't like what I saw.
I see.
So I almost resculpted it, but it was in the fine details.
In the fine detail.
And I have actually refused certain castings because they didn't come out right.
Yeah. Well, you're really dependent on your
Yeah.
foundry.
Yeah. I had to train them because I do something with the eyes that's very different, and they weren't used to it and they weren't careful enough, but I trained them. So
So now.
then that happens, then I give them back the wax.
I see.
Then they cast the wax with the lost wax method, which gives them a hollow bronze, as whatever the bronze is. At that point, I go back again and I look at it and make sure the casting is correct. If the casting is a little bit off, is it salvageable? Can we add a little? And I'm working now on the bronze. I might feel something that doesn't feel right, or an edge is wrong, or you lost this in the casting. You've got to, like there's a piece in my foundry now, a copy of one that actually was sold, a run of 5.
That's
And
what I
this-
was going to ask you too.
And this one, they missed the lip over here.
It's
I said-
amazing.
It changed, and it's tiny. And I said, you've got to add a piece there, and I'll come back and I'll work on it. So then they add it. Then I take a fine tool, electric tool, and I will do that, or I'll take a burr or whatever I need to do that. So shape it, because until it looks back at me and talks to me, it's not ready. Once it's ready, now we do the patina, which is the color.
Before we get to the patina, let's take a break.
Okay.
And we'll take a break. We'll be right back with Paul Sorvino, and we'll show you, we'll actually hold these sculptures in our hand once he goes through the patina process. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with actor-artist Paul Sorvino. We're talking about the process of making a sculpture from clay to wax to being the wax mold being filled with bronze. And now Paul is taking us through the finishing touches on the bronze and going to tell us about the patina.
Okay, now once the bronze is to my satisfaction, it looks like the original model. And sometimes when I'm working on the wax, I will take the clay model that they modeled and I'll keep watching it to make sure I don't forget, because it may be months later. I'm already working on other things. So when you say it takes, the modeling is fast, but the process is months.
It's
So
true.
it's not, it takes a long time. I mean, I can say that certain projects have really taken me 6 months because in the planning and all of the processes that you go through. So now we have a bronze, and it looks like gold. It's a gold color. And we
Okay.
have the bronze, and then we go over to the section in the foundry. The fellow does the patina. Now he sits there with a torch and with acid, and he applies the acid, torches it, and he's very experienced, a craftsman of 20, 30 years experience, and he will get the color and the highlights pretty much, it's not just painting something on.
But do you choose the color patina you
Oh yeah,
want?
oh sure. Yeah.
And you like dark patina?
Yeah, I do.
It looks.
I don't like the green stuff.
Is this?
Yeah. That is called Lovers. That was actually sold the first night at our show at Hedy Corson's gallery. That's about 5 feet high.
This one? Mm-hmm. Do I have the back side?
Yes, turn the
Okay, I'm going to turn it around as
Turn
soon
it
as
around.
we see the closeness of the there.
So your finger is on the bottom. To take the finger off the bottom.
Sorry.
No,
this
the other
finger.
one. No, that's it. That's it.
Sorry. So that's 5 feet.
About 5 feet, yeah.
Is that one of the largest pieces you've worked on?
Yeah, I just finished actually a Venus, which will be ready this Friday. It's going in another mini show I'm going to do at the Sherwood Country Club.
Okay, so we've got the patina guy. You like
now the
dark
patina's
patina.
finished. Now when I approve that, now he will polish it with paste wax, and it'll come back to Hetty's gallery.
Do you stay there with him during any of that process?
Generally speaking, if I can, I'll watch the patina, but sometimes I just can come and approve it. Or there's always adjustments to be made. You always go back and say, okay, this I don't care for, this, let's fix this, this is the wrong color. So it's like being a designer. You know, you have fabricators to do the work, but then when you see it on the model, say, that's not what I had in mind.
We've been talking about, I'm going to hold this and,
Okay.
ooh, it's heavy. I'm going to hold it like this so he can see the profile,
yeah,
which
that's the
is
profile,
beautiful. And you've been talking about Hetty Corsan Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are, an artist, later in life, I may say. How does one go about getting a gallery?
Well, it ain't easy. I mean, I know a number of talented artists who've had an awful lot of trouble finding representation. It's easier for me because I'm well known, but also as far as 30 years ago when people were seeing my paintings and artworks, they were telling me they wanted me to represent me. This is when nobody knew me. So really, I'm kind of proud of the fact that before anybody knew who I was as an actor, that they wanted to represent me as a painter. And as a sculptor, because they saw something already. So I would say that once you feel your work is really as good as you can get it, and don't go in with a barrage of things. 3 or 4 things that you're really proud of, make photographs of them, really good photographs, get somebody who really knows how to take a good photo, and then go to the galleries. I just walk into the galleries. That's what I would do.
Gonna say.
I would do that.
You don't have to send your slides around or do anything like that.
But that's what I think they should. Here, this is, may I see your, the manager or the owner?
But say you're at the Corsan Gallery in West Hollywood.
Right.
And she shows pieces of this size.
Right.
And are these multiples?
Well, I do very few. I think this is a run of maybe 7 or 9. I'm not sure.
The head we saw, and
yeah,
the
and
figure?
This would be, I think, 5. I'm not sure. Maybe 5 or 6. I can't.
Can you hold
well,
it
maybe
for the
I can
camera?
see. It should say it on it. Let me see. 1 second.
Do you sign
Yeah, there's
them?
only 5. Yeah.
Do you
Oh
sign
yes.
them?
This is one of 5.
Should I hold this?
I
If
can
you
hold
want to
it.
hold it. Oh yeah, great.
Let me see. You got to get in closer.
But you know what's
You've got to get in closer. Much closer.
What's so great is the feel. It looks rough, but it has a really nice feel to it.
Yeah. Now back out a little bit. Widen out a little bit.
We're going to talk
back.
about Paul's directing in a minute because he loves to direct. That's great. It looks pretty like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
This is a lady who had a beautiful figure and became a good friend and wanted to pose. She was not a model, but she knew I was a sculptor, and she said, I know you're a sculptor, I would love to pose. There's a fascination for a number of women who want to pose because they know that this bronze is going to be there forever.
Oh, no.
This will outlast, I mean, we have bronzes from 4,000, 5,000 years ago.
Totally, I totally see it.
So a lot of women, while they're young and beautiful, want to be represented.
I see. Well, that's the thing that we were talking about. You don't want to get too close to your models.
No, well, I don't, because, I mean, I don't say it hasn't happened. What I'm saying is it's unwise, because you want to fall in love with the sculpture. I remember when I did this, what I've considered so far one of the best things I've done. She's about 36 inches high. It's called the Venere Pensante, the Thinking Venus. It's a beautiful body and a beautiful face. And a relationship was possible with the lady, and I just was so involved in the sculpture that I just completely ignored that, because that's distracting. Mm-hmm. I want to put my love and attention and feelings to the sculpture. Mm-hmm. And what it came out, ultimately, and of course when it was over, the moment was over, when I was finished.
Does that happen in a movie too?
Yes.
I would think.
Yeah.
I was going to ask
because there's a terminus, there's an ending coming.
And
so when it's over, it's pretty much over.
The people in your family understanding of that, just like as a sculptor, I think people around you,
I almost
your
wept
family?
when my sculpture went to the Foundry. Well, after I finished it, the day I finished it, I had to go home and go to sleep. I was so exhausted.
You were losing it, or you were just...
I was spent.
Spent. Let me ask you, Do you like, I'm going to ask you a couple of just, like painting or sculpting?
Well, I would say I'm not the painter that I am the sculptor, technically speaking. Although in some random shots I've made some things that people have liked a lot.
Do you
so
like?
I think
Oh, I'm sorry.
the act of sculpting is probably the most complete because you use a lot of muscle. And I'm athletic and I've always been. And so it's very pleasant, very fulfilling to use your body, your mind, your imagination, your soul, your spirit, your intellect, all in one thing.
Then
That's
that
the
takes
wonderful
us-
thing about being a sculptor.
That takes us, though, to writing poetry, which you
Yep.
do, and singing. Which of those do you prefer?
Well, I write poetry purely as a hobby and only on inspiration.
I see.
So I wouldn't call myself a professional poet because I don't do it on a schedule. I sculpt on a schedule,
Oh, I see, I see.
and so I call myself a professional
see,
sculptor.
I
I
see.
paint on a schedule.
What about singing?
Singing, I paint. I sing. I paint when I
Do
sing.
you sing when you paint?
I sing when I have something to prepare for, a concert or something like that.
Do you
And
have a CD?
Yes, I do. Several, actually.
And did you sing on Broadway?
Yeah. No.
In musicals, I mean?
No, I sang in musicals, but none on Broadway. No.
And were you classically trained?
Oh, yes, all my life.
That was so fascinating to me. I guess I always thought of you as, such a great actor. Do you like comedy or drama?
That depends on what I've done last.
Is that right?
After I've done something heavy duty, done a lot of crying or something, I want to do a comedy.
And directing?
I love directing because it's a primary art. Acting in movies is it can be a real drag because what you're doing is you are playing out the other fellow's vision, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's better than heavy lifting as a living, but it's extremely frustrating because you don't have anything to say about the final product.
But you did that all your life.
This is all mine.
This is all yours. That's true.
I
but
did it all my life, but I bridled under that weight.
Acting, you mean? So
Yeah,
so do you think you'll end up your career as a director and not acting?
Pretty much as a director, perhaps being in my own things, or available to do a part with a gifted director or a really good project.
Something you'd choose, somebody you'd want to choose and be.
Yeah. But essentially, I'll be sculpting the rest of my life and painting.
Well, I'm so glad we had you here today.
Thank you. I'm so glad you had me too.
Thank you very much, and thank all of you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, and we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles. Thanks, Paul.
It was fun.